But we shall have to find out and see, as they say, because this is the 192nd episode of ADSN. Welcome, good morning, good evening, wherever you happen to be in the world. Hope you're doing well. We're back. And yeah, we're talking all about the idea of want versus need this week. The idea of we all get our gas and we all get our gear acquisition syndrome. We've been there, we've all done that, we've discussed it before. But here we want to have a look at analyzing and looking and acknowledging the difference between want versus need, but also allowing for the space of need. The idea of gear acquisition syndrome doesn't always allow for the notion of being kind to yourself and purchasing with intentionality. And that's kind of what I want to kind of pick out today. So yeah, that's what we're up for. That's what we're up for. We're also going to have a look at Bandcamp because they had a big announcement yesterday, thanks to Survey Channel. But before we get into that, I am here with Eon Lake. It's nice to see you, bro. How are you doing?
Hello, it's good to be here. I'm all right.
Yeah,
I'm good. The wheels are still turning. Things are moving up.
Absolutely still turning with increasing veracity.
Yeah. How's your week been?
It's been all right. I am still kind of getting to grips with this place, and that's been nice. And I've been taking the time to go through. I've got a lot of projects that I just haven't finished. I've got a lot of like. Suddenly, I've got a 5-track EP here. I've got a 6-track thing there. I've got a 7-track thing here, and they're
Hang
just.
on a minute. I've already run out of fingers.
Yeah, I've just found that I've just got all these kind of where I've got about 70% of the way through something and then just forgotten that they exist and then just carried on to another thing.
That's not bad as a percentage goes, you know. It's a lot easier to work with than 30.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, I have this spreadsheet and I have this, I call it the state of the field where I've got tabs for each individual thing I've got. And I go through and I kind of make notes and just listen through. And, you know, each one, I was quite grateful. I was quite thankful because each one kind of nearly there, needs tweak, here, nearly there, needs a solo, et cetera, you know.
You go through them and read all that. Think, oh, this is actually quite good news.
Yeah, it's actually not bad, you know. And yeah, and I found this really dark piece. I found this really dark collection. It's really like it's not noise, but I have been increasingly interested in noise recently, and it's not quite noise, but it's very, very bleak and it's very texturized. So,
what in musical tone as well? Because your last release was positively light and buoyant.
Right. And this is not that.
Somewhat of a change.
This is not that at all. It's it's bleak, it's dark, it touches on a lot of things that are if you say the words, they'll be, you know, screened here on YouTube. So yeah, it's dark. I think it's
of words you get alarm bells ring when you use.
Yeah, I mean, for example, I started writing them about 3 or 4 years ago, and you know, I've not wanted to add to the negativity that is swirling around our heads, and then I've just opened this up, and I'm like, now is maybe time to add to the negativity that's swirling around our heads. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Maybe I'll never see the light of day, but I might send it to Lars and see what he thinks. Abby is in the chat. Hello, Abby. Nice to see you. Hope you're doing well. Let us know how you're doing. Let us know where you're at, what you're up to. So yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm doing that thing that you, I think I got the idea from you. The idea, either you or Underbelly, and just bouncing out stems, normalizing and bouncing out the stems, and then actually starting afresh on a different device, which is this one here. And I think it's created a lot of peace. I wonder, maybe it's a discussion for another time, but I wonder how much I've actually been blocking myself by sticking to a single project file all this time.
Well, especially after time passes and you can't actually remember how you made some of those sounds, and they're just literally, it's face value. It is what it is. What do you want to do with it?
Yeah.
I find sometimes when you've got infinite back out options and, you know, you haven't committed to anything, it fosters a certain kind of thinking where you're not really making decisions, and you can end up stuck in a bit of a rut where you just flatten things to audio file and forget about how they even came about. it's almost like remixing someone else's stuff, and especially if you're as forgetful as I am.
I mean, I'd agree with you on that one. It's been quite liberating in a way. I think because all those like you say, you've cast those things in audio. You can't go back at that point. But also when you drag them into the new project file, it's so much more streamlined, and there's just nothing to mess around with.
Good ideas and a clean project to add things in.
Exactly. I think I might. The whole point of this EP that I'm working on now is part of that workflow. Is to experiment with that workflow, and I wonder if that's something that may stick when it's done. Who knows?
Yeah, I was thinking about doing iterations. Develop a few sounds, bounce them into audio, start again, do things with them. Maybe use. I quite like messing around with the what's it called, refractalizer or something in Ableton.
Is it a Max for Life?
Yeah, it was developed by the Monolake guy. And it's just a granulizer. That's it. I think it's called Granulizer 2 or 3. I forget which iteration we're on now.
We're
but
on 3, I think.
Yeah. But it's good fun, especially if you start, adding LFOs to all the knobs. And triggering it at weird times. I like doing that with vocal samples and stuff. So, doing stuff like that. And then once you think you've got enough stuff, then you can start making a track, but building sounds and textures to use rather than taking them straight out of the box. Do you know what I mean? As a bit more of a sort of iterative sound design approach.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Make a load of sounds, flatten them, process them again, flatten them again,
Yeah, absolutely. I hear what you're saying. While you're talking, Bendu is doing person turquoise waving. Hey, man.
Hey, person turquoise waving, bro.
I love a bit of that. It's lovely to see you, Ben. Let us know how you've been. Let us know what you're up to. How about your end of the world? What's going on with you these days?
I'm in a little bit of a rut because the songs that I need to finish are in here in the studio, and I haven't recorded the audio, so I still need the sub 37 at least, and sometimes the subharmonicon and labyrinth as well, because I'm still running them live. I need to commit a bit, I think. But even so, it would be a bit of work to take them out of here and work with them elsewhere on the laptop. So I'm only really getting little bits done there. And the tracks that I actually started on the laptop when I was experimenting with various bits of gear, where I'd stick them on the play tray there with the laptop next to it, do something fun, and just record a long take and change things and jam it out and just record long takes of stuff. And songs came out of that quite nicely, but I'm just a little bit, I now have to start tracking all my things to say which one's on a studio track and which one's a laptop track, so that I know where they are and what I can work on while I'm not in the studio. And all my time's been at the studio recently. So yeah, it limits what you can do, but
is that kind of like a workflow thing, or is that kind of are these collections of tracks coming through vibe, or are they coming through where and what mindset you've been in when they've been created?
Yeah, both really.
Okay.
But the ones that I think are promising, I need to finish are in the studio, and I really need to spend just a bit more time in here and finish them.
That's fair. I can empathize with that.
But I have been having fun anyway.
I mean, it's all about having fun, right? At the end of the day.
Well, this is what we keep saying, so I'm trying to walk the walk now.
It is sometimes tough to walk the walk. It is for sure. But I mean, as long as we keep reminding ourselves and checking in a grounding way, that's all we need to really do at the end of the day. Exactly. Speaking of grounding, did you by any chance have a look at Bandcamp's announcement from yesterday?
I did, and all sorts of avenues of thought were stimulated by that. I think what upsets me most about it is it's what I want to hear.
Right? Okay. Do you want to?
I don't know. It makes me suspicious. Suspicious. It seems like a positive thing, right? That that they are feeling a similar way about music not made by people and the industry that seems to be springing up around that to get rid of all that pesky artistic creation and fun that people have creating art and just jump to the product, a commodity. And that, it kind of, I don't know, I wasn't really around. I don't know why Bandcamp was set up, but I think the nature of what it is implies that it was to remove those barriers between audience and artist and, enable a deeper connection and a more direct relationship and less friction to getting music out there and selling both, digital and physical copies and merch and so on. And it's been great for us. It's been great for everybody, and it shows that there's an alternative to streaming or a complementary avenue to streaming, however you choose to see it. But there are alternatives. There's more than one way, and God forbid someone else could imagine another one and make that. So it's nice to hear somebody say, yeah, that is still what we're about. We're about the human side of it. We're about, enabling that and actually laying out that, I mean, they did say explicitly, we don't want any AI generated music on the platform, that it's not what it's for. I mean, the only part of me, I'm a little suspicious of any business that wants to make money, where the ultimate responsibility is to a shareholder or something and generating revenue rather than fulfilling any more lofty ideals that we might have or want. That, opinions can change. But for now, it would seem like good news. And it's saying exactly what I would want to hear, that, no, we're still here for people generated music, people curated music, and, rejecting cheaper alternatives, which is good. I mean, long may it continue, but nothing is promised, is it? Tomorrow's promised to nobody, and people can change their minds and so on. But for now, it would seem like a very good thing. I don't know. What was your take?
In a similar vein, I just want to engage with Bendu because just what he's put in the chat. Speaking of, because we are talking about gear and wanting to need it. He said, after nearly 2 years without new gear, I sold the Push 2, bought myself a Push 3 standalone. That's cool. In December. You have to let us know how that goes, Bendu, and whether the kind of rubbery plastic maintains its consistency. Because I know he struggled with the 2 on that one and the 1 in that regard. That's cool. I would love to have a Push 3 standalone. That'd be amazing.
I don't know. I'm all right with the Move at the moment, to be honest.
Right, the Move. You're still on the Move.
I don't need to do too much I do like the idea of something that will do a lot, and it's just one thing. I love that idea. But as the MPC Live 2 showed me, what I don't want is a little box with a door in it and a different door to the one I use and something else to learn. It's tiresome. So I think what I'm looking for is more something that is, able to chain patterns and, or do basic arrangements from a sequencing point of view without it actually being a door and having a screen that you need to do stuff in and stuff like that.
That makes sense. Yeah. Something a bit more dumbed down in that sense. It's a complicated beast, and it is a DAW in a box. So yeah, I can see where you're coming from. Yeah.
The whole the standaloneness of the Push 3 as well, sort of, it seems to get you into that arms race again of like, what's the power of the machine? The kind of considerations that were on my head with the MPC as well, where it's like, well, it's not that overpowered from a CPU and memory point of view, but it's going to start running all these virtual, instruments and effects and stuff like that. And you're going to start banging your head on the ceiling at some point. And where is that point? Is it going to be a problem?
It's true. It's true, especially for a maximalist such as yourself.
Whereas with a laptop or something, they can generally do more.
I get that. Sorry, while you were talking, Tina is being ultimately very rude behind me. Tina, thank you.
What Steve said. Steve's just looking at her going, "What's the
Exactly.
problem?"
He's just being kind. There's a couple of boxes in here. I bought this thing here. I bought a laptop stand,
All right.
and I didn't get rid of the boxes because I should have done that, but I didn't do that. And now Tina's on air having fun with that. But yeah, it's fine. Let me know if it gets bothersome, and I'll just hop off and get rid of them for now. Anyway, back to Bandcamp. If you are listening or watching and you don't know, Bandcamp released a mission statement, which you can get the full link to on our
We should be showing it, shouldn't we?
on our Discord. I'll bring it up in just a sec. Hey, Mike, it's lovely to see you. You've just missed a little conversation about the push through there. I'm sure there's something there. But let me share this. This is essentially what we're discussing at the beginning of the show today.
Yeah, having said all that, I'm sure Ben's got great reasons for getting a push 3, and he's not an impulsive character when it comes to getting media. Especially impressive for somebody who used to get modular stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Covering nicely. Well done.
So I'll read a little bit of this. If you want to read the full thing, you can get the link on our Discord. Bandcamp's mission is to help spread the healing power of music by building a community where artists thrive through the direct support of their fans. We believe that the human connection found through music is a vital part of our society and culture, and that music is much more than a product to be consumed. It's the result of a human cultural dialogue stretching back before the written word. So similarly, musicians are more than just mere producers of sound. They are vital members of the community, our culture, and our social fabric. Bandcamp was built to directly connect artists and their fans, and to make it easy for fans to support artists equitably so that they can keep making music. And the rest here is their outlining and fortifying their ideas and their mission statement when it comes to AI or generative AI. In short, they don't allow it, essentially.
Yeah, not permitted.
Not permitted, which is wonderful. To the extent where they say, and you can see this in bold, we reserve the right to remove any music on suspicion of being AI generated, which is lovely. Which you don't see.
Yeah, that, I don't know. That sounds fine unless somebody decides my music is AI generated.
Well, it is tough.
It just makes me think YouTube, right? About copyright strikes and so on. It means then you need to have some sort of process to, object and prove that you did make it yourself and so on. And that could be expensive, right?
Absolutely.
You have to like staff it and get people to review objections and stuff like that. It could get pricey, but I hope it doesn't cause any problems. I mean, I don't want to look on the negative side, and I hope that there isn't one. But yeah, I do see an arbitration process could be quite onerous for them.
Oh, for sure.
Run.
I think you're in good company as well. Mike Smith, hurrah for Bandcamp with 3 claps, not just one. And be jamming since birth. Hey man, nice to see you. I'm glad they chose not to allow it. I use Bandcamp because I want to support real artists, and that's fair.
You, and so do I. Yeah,
absolutely. And I know that we're preaching to the choir. I think most people on this channel who tune into the show are of the similar vein. We're still I don't know, in this world where the structure of AI music is still a bit of a mystery, I think, to the consumer, perhaps potentially, but that's breaking down. I've seen my friends in our group chat starting to cotton on to the amount of AI on streaming services, for example, and how that's awful, obviously. Maybe getting there slowly but surely.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just reading some of the comments, Mike, saying that the whole arbitrations process is fine.
That's better than that. I get that.
That's the point.
It's an interesting thing here. I think with again be jamming since birth. The problem with AI music for sampling, the problem for the, I think the problem is AI music for sampling music is okay. However, I don't want to buy AI made music.
Hmm.
There, which is fair. Like I think we had this discussion when like Audio and Suno started being a thing.
Hmm.
This notion of using AI generated music to craft, say, like a trumpet sound or something like that.
Yeah. It can't. Can it be copyrighted? I don't think it can. Can it? So
I think you
if
forfeit it.
you sample it and you make something else out of it, I don't know that you could be sued because I don't know it can be copyrighted if it's not made by a human.
Well, I think
It'd be interesting though to have an AI service trying to sue a human for ripping off AI music that was ultimately ripped off humans in the first place. That would be ironic.
Well, I do think that. I mean, on the positive side, just as a side note, I do think the advent of AI, the silver lining, is that it's highlighted just how archaic and difficult the copyright laws are for music, and how fluid they are. And it's brought up a lot of the notions of needing to reform copyright law, which
Mm,
is a nice thing.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Abby seems to confirm that, yeah,
Yes,
AI music can't be copyrighted in the US at least.
Yes, AI art can't be copyrighted in the US currently. And here I've uploaded a couple of tracks to SoundCloud like site app that pays and allows tips in their stable coin. I see people posting new tracks every day. It's clear most of the music uploaded is AI. It's interesting, Abby. What is it
Mm.
that you can makes you tell that they are AI? It's interesting.
I think that some of this is inevitable, though, not necessarily because of the prevalence of AI in music creation. It's more that whenever there's money to be made, and that streaming platform has had problems with bot farming and stuff like that, is there's somebody who wants to mine it like Bitcoin and have machines that will sit there and generate artificial streams or whatever. But there's somebody who wants to play the system and grind it so that they can mine it for cash.
Hmm.
And it's just another tool to use to do that, isn't it? Now, I can't say I'm surprised, but yeah. How long before we've got AI making music that AI is listening to and no one else?
Yeah, it's an
Random.
interesting one. It's an interesting one. Again, with the whole dead internet theory. Abby says listening to it, which is a very good answer. It's a very good. It's a very good way to kind of understand. I'm just wondering if there's anything that tips your spidey senses specifically, be it the
You're
vocals
trying
or
to suggest it's not a high quality or something.
yeah,
But it's
because
maybe a bit grainy and artifacted or something.
it is getting better though.
Mm.
Like
Yeah, give it a couple of years and
I was doing an event the other day, and there was a genuinely what I thought was a really beautiful Spanish piece of music playing, and I was really vibing to it. And it was this corporate event, and I looked at of course, it was they had made a Spotify playlist, and I looked at it, and it was an AI band, a bit like that Velvet Underground band that came about, that kind of thing. And I mean, maybe I'm just untrained, and maybe I'm a philistine. I don't know, but I was like, I was like, no way, that's AI, and it is getting better, which is difficult in that regard.
Yeah, I can't help thinking though that with AI that initially it was done as an intellectual challenge for people who develop AI to go, look, it's so good, it can do art, right? That's like the ultimate challenge. So something esoteric that's beyond sort of crunching numbers and mathematics and stuff like that you would expect a computer to be able to do. It's like here is something that steps beyond that, and the only way to prove that it's capable is to make it tackle art successfully, right?
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to there being a genuine desire or want for that.
Right.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
And of course, it enables certain businesses to not pay people and get cheaper music to use on commercials and stuff like that. but I don't think that there's a massive market for it or desire for it. At least that's what I think, probably because it's comfortable for me to think that,
Yeah.
and I want to think that, and I look for things that confirm it. I hope I'm right. I hope I'm not wrong, but it's my opinion.
Well, I mean, I think you're right to a degree. No one asked for it, but I think all these streaming sites, for example, where this AI is mainly prevalent, they are mainly catering to public spaces and background listeners and stuff, where it's less intentional with the listening. I feel maybe just because I feel it isn't right, but
Yeah, the
you know,
POS market and things like that.
yeah, and if you're sitting in a hipster cafe listening to hipster lo-fi, does it matter if it's an artist or does it matter if it's AI generated? And that's a shame, but that is also kind of where we're at.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm still trying to get past hipster lo-fi. I kind of pulled up short when those words came along, and I've not been able to move past it yet.
That's fair. B. Jamming Since Birth says they should require you to list the instruments and plugins and DAW or something to indicate what you use to make it.
An interesting thought, but I
Pink
suppose
slip.
you could AI generate that, really, couldn't you?
You could, yeah.
You
But I
could
mean,
provide a few instrumental parts and a video of it, something playing those parts or something. Do you know what I mean?
yeah. I mean, that's a really good thought experiment there. It's if you were an artist and that was how you had to stand by your work and say this is human generated, what discourse or what could you put into this prose that would guarantee that it's not just human made, but it's yours and you made it? If that was the new copyright in that regard, what could I put? I mean, I like LFOs. I don't know. It's a funny one, that one. Yeah. We'll have to see. Again, AI art is a topic too.
It really
However, I feel if you use it as a tool to build or manipulate the picture, then I have no issue with it. Which I agree with that one. I
It is a
agree.
whole topic. I couldn't have put it better. I mean, it's the sort of thing you could spend a long time talking about. It's also a topic that we didn't have on the list for today.
No, but that's okay. It was meant to be a PSA, but
Right. It's like sampling all over again in the question of, what is art? How artistic is it? What is creation? Blah, blah, blah. Obviously, it's a moving target, isn't it? And it's a decision. But yeah, I've got no issue with AI elements necessarily.
Yeah, I get that. I think everything is fair game if you're gonna do something, right? Again, it's that Lockean theory of labor, and it's yours because you've done something to it, you've manipulated it in some way. But yeah, if you're generating drags and just calling it done, that's another game actually. But we shall see. I suppose this is a direct addressing to the patrons, because this did come up on our Patreon, and this is in the name of promoting artist-made work. Currently, there is a little thing that I've put up in the Patreon channel concerning human-made work. I don't want to say too much because I'm hoping that once this stage is done, I can take it to the wider community. But if patrons, you head across to our Patreon page on Discord, you'll see there's a little kind of appreciation of human-made music in there, which we could do with your assistance in. Little Google form and a little recommendation. I'll say no more for now, but that is very much in support of human-made music in this world where that's becoming less and less of a given.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. Any more on that, Ian Lake, or should we sidle across to our main event for today?
Let's move on.
So the whole notion of this we were having a conversation about this last week, and I've just put this in the thing. The idea of want versus need. NAMM is coming up, which is a lot of people's favorite time of the year. It is the first of many conventions that we are going to enjoy. And this is a period of time where we start to think about our gear acquisition syndrome, our lust for little shiny boxes with buttons that go bleep bloop. And we've done this segment a few times when it comes to stepping back and pushing past our gear acquisition syndrome and not necessarily giving into it, and having ideas of knowing the depth of your gear as opposed to the shallow nature of a lot of gear, for example. But I wanted to kind of go one step further today, and I wanted to talk a little bit more about identifying the want versus the need in an intentional way. Again, we've been talking about just seeing you change that there. Nice one. Um, the the idea of being intentional with your purchases and ruminating on what might be not just a little bit of gear acquisition syndrome, but a decent investment. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's fair. I mean, you're in it. We spoke about this a few weeks ago. I think me and you had a call over Christmas. I just seen what Mike said. New gear equals, but we have rice at home. I mean, you're in a space right now where you're not particularly interested in getting new gear right now. Am I right in assuming that?
That's right. I don't get paid for another 10 days.
Right. Okay. So I'll ask this question again in 2 episodes' time and see where you're at.
I'm going to buy something. Yeah.
Okay. And what is it you're looking at in that regard?
An Arturia key step 2.
Mm. And is that a want or is that a need?
It's a bit of both.
Okay.
So we could use this as a test case if you
I
like.
like it. Yeah. Thank you for bringing that to the table. It's beautiful.
I want a small keyboard that I can pair with a laptop.
Okay. Portability.
Yes, I want it to be USB powered so that I can just plug it into the laptop and I've got a keyboard. I did have one, but someone I live with broke it. It was very useful. I could just connect it to my laptop and got a full keyboard. But yeah. Plus, it's got all those additional elements, like it's portable, right? So I can just plug it into semi-modular stuff like the No Coast, Labyrinth, Subharmonicon, all the other bits and pieces, the K2, and various 303 rip-offs I've got, and Sequence and so on. So it will interface with all my gear. In my defense, I've been trying to use the Arturia Microfreak for this purpose at the moment because I quite like that touch capacitive keyboard. I've got no problems with that, except when I try and use it as a MIDI controller, changes in the connectivity, the pad sensitivity, i.e. more of your finger making contact or less, which is kind of like aftertouch on a regular keyboard. It's generating tons and tons of MIDI notes that I don't want and being quite problematic, which is sad because I thought this is going to be great. I can just connect it to my laptop. It runs off USB power and I've got all of those controls. It's got a slider on it and it's got the really good arpeggiator with slice and dice and spiciness and so on controls to change, how it runs as an arpeggiator in a sequence. Loads of control. But unfortunately, it's not working great. So I might just get a small keyboard that can either be in the studio or out the studio that will connect to modular stuff or MIDI stuff and just does what it says on the tin. It's got all the connectivity and some really good sequencing stuff where you can generate some weird arps. You can mess around with how regular they are. You can then bounce that into a sequence. You can do further work on it. You can move things around in memory a lot like that. It's very useful. And it has the other controls that you need, like modulation wheel, pitch bend, etc., for playing soft synths if you need to. So yeah, I mean, I'm using my MS-20 in the studio just because I like having it right in front of me.
I mean, it's a great synth, so yeah, fair play.
It's not the best keyboard though, and it's a very small keyboard. It's probably the worst one I've got, but I don't mind. I've got enough. I can go over there and use one of the other ones if I need to. But yeah, so I like to think that I've been practical with it. I don't have I don't have anything that I can use instead that doesn't need separate power and so on. And I really don't want that. I just want something I can plug in and use as a control keyboard for all sorts of things, recording drums and synths and whatnot.
Which I mean that's fair. I mean, it sounds like you've ruminated on that a lot, and it sounds like you've come to a space where the idea has sat with you for a while, and you've kind of worked out that that is what you would say would be some form of investment as opposed to an impulse buy or just
Mm.
another keyboard.
Yeah, I mean, I could plug a push in. I've got a push one that I don't use except for live that I could use, but I want to actually use a keyboard.
Yeah, that's a different vibe, right?
I want to practice playing keys,
Mm.
scales, and such like. So, yeah, I would like a keyboard. I mean, really, I'd like a big keyboard, but then it's not portable. Then it probably doesn't power off USB, etc., etc. So, it's a trade-off between all of those things. And I have a big keyboard I could plug in if I really needed to, but I never do.
Big master keyboard.
Yeah.
Get that. So in that frame of mind, then, so what's your process from going from I want this to actually this is probably a good idea? Is there a timeline? Is it something that sits with you?
See, this isn't something I'm particularly lusted of. This feels more like I really want that for convenience. I find myself regularly wanting to be able to do that, and I can't. And I've tried alternatives, and they don't really work for me. There are other things that I like the look of. Most things that Torso make, for example, especially the S4, the granular sampling thing. Michael, correct me in the chat in a minute, probably. That sort of thing I want, but at the same time, I've got granular engines in Eurorack, and it's doable in Ableton and so on. It's like I can't argue that it's given me something that I don't already have some sort of level of access to. So it would be kind of hard to justify. It would have to be more of a workflow thing. It enables me to do something.
So it's got a utilitarian function to it in that regard.
Yeah,
There's a utility to
bring
it.
it some other way, because it's certainly not like, well, you can't do this any other way, because that's just not true.
I think you are right. By the way, it's the S4. The S4 is lovely in capitals.
Helping, Mike.
But I think that's fair. I think that one of the understated factors in this is the notion of the utility side of it. I think we can get very glitzed and glammed, especially when there's ads everywhere, and when there's Black Friday sales, etc. We can get very glitzed and glammed about the idea of something that sounds amazing, right? The new Behringer, the little micro Behringer, as an example of that, it looks like a really cool synth, and it sounds really fun. It sounds really good.
Yeah.
It's also can be done. I mean, it's $50, for example. It can be done everywhere else at the same time.
I mean, sometimes I just push through with it as well and say, okay, yeah, so you buy it. And you buy everything that you like the look of. And you've got all these things at home. What are you going to do then? You're going to mess around with a bunch of stuff and not get anything done. And you've got a whole load of new things to learn. And it's not going to help, because that's not really what you want. What you want, I don't know. I have to start talking for myself now, right?
That's okay.
What I want is to be happy.
Right.
And these things aren't going to make me happy necessarily. What might make me happy is doing a bit more music, which these things would probably actively get in the way of initially. So I try and think about it in those terms. Now, I'm not saying that that's absolutely the case, but it helps me to think about it that way.
I think it's fair. Yeah.
Because I've done things like that in the past. I've got something new, and I've thought about it. It's a right thing for me. It's quite deep. It's got lots of flexibility. It doesn't pigeonhole me. But at the same time, that's bad, because there's loads to learn. It's going to take a while, and it slows me down initially. There's that drag factor of something new.
which is fair, you know. And I mean, I think to highlight, I think one really a good success story would be Sunwalker in that regard, who has,
Yeah.
you know, does have MIDI mountain, does have a mountain of gear, but has made the SP 404 the, you know, the hub of what they do, and you know they know that box inside and out in that regard, and they, you know, they've built a whole channel around it. There's definitely a space for buying a piece of gear that speaks to you and makes you feel inspired and empowered and things
Mm.
like that. I think there does get to a stage where, you know, once you've bought a few, I think that you have to start questioning, am I buying something because it's something that I need and it's going to add to my studio, or is it just another box, or is it just I have a spare channel available in my mixer, for
If you're
example?
asking yourself that question, it's often because you kind of already know what the answer is. I mean, if you think about what usually triggers your desire for new gear, for me, it's the promise of access to inspiration.
Mm.
It's that something new will have it's got some great workflow or some way of just getting you buzzing and going in, you know, and that access to an inspirational state. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's always got to be some new workflow, some new way of doing something that's, you know, really well designed and super intuitive, and you know that's the sort of thing that will pique my interest because it's the
Mhm.
promise that my process will be improved by this thing. You know, my life will be enhanced by this, the methodology that it allows access to. It's almost always, you know, not true. But that's I think what the biggest draw is for me. I mean, other people might be like, it's got loads of lights on it. It looks very, you know, I must admit that is perhaps a bit of a draw if it does look pretty and has a lot of lights.
Mhm.
But I will look at it more closely. So that's not gonna, you know, that's not gonna do it on its own. It's
I
usually
get,
the promise of that.
I get you, and I suppose in the realm of modern marketing, in that regard, every new synthesizer has a new workflow, has a new untapped piece of inspiration for you to do. Um, so I get that, and
Yeah.
I suppose that comes into the realm of impulse buy. But I just want to bring this up before we get there. Mike Smith says, have bought loads of stuff on the premise that would be a really great for thing, and
Mm.
then never did thing. Now, I think we've all been there at some point.
Yeah.
I'd be curious to know what Mike says. Um,
Whatever the
is
first thing was, though, some of those things for me ended up being useful for live, particularly if they're a controller and they're quite small.
that makes sense?
For instance, the Roly Lightpad block, I just didn't get on with at all. And it's supposed to be, you know, an MPE controller and a way of, you know, playing and recording music. And I just hate the thing.
It just doesn't work for you.
No, I like the texture of it to touch, but to actually use for musical purposes, I don't like it at all. And I just never got on with it. But as an XY pad for live use, it's small. It just needs a USB cable. You know, you can use it to control things quite easily. I was running some drums on it as well, so that if I wanted to hit a drum, I could.
Hmm.
Like crash cymbal, because I am a drummer. It's my safe space.
That's good. I
But
mean
yeah,
that.
you know, that's an example of something that's like, well, it's useful live to have something that small that can be, you know, the type of control that you need it to be, because it's nothing but a pad that
Yeah.
is customizable.
Which makes sense. I mean that's in that regard. That's why I'm I'm not good at moving gear on. I rarely sell gear. I rarely get rid of gear. Um, it stays on the shelf, and I keep it. You know, for example, I've got some stuff down here, which, you know, it's just it's gathering dust. But you never know. That launch pad that I got 4 years ago has ceased to be part of the rig, but every so often I'll break it out and use it as a step sequencer for, you know, some Doorless stuff, just for the funsies.
Hmm.
And uh, You never know when these little box on the back side of it. You never know when these boxes will come back to you.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, things like that. I mean, it's a MIDI controller. It's, you're always going to find a use for a MIDI controller.
Oh,
You don't want to
absolutely.
be clicking around on a computer.
Is there anything that you have bought as an impulse and it has turned out to be a bad decision?
Well, I suppose that was an example of one.
Right.
The light pad. Did I need something like that? No, not really. Did it do what I wanted it to do? Nah, not really. I did do some interesting stuff on it, but I found a lot of the sounds I just didn't like. It was a style of sound that I just really didn't gel with.
Mm.
Where, I suppose to really sort of show off MPE and the fact that you can modulate various different parameters with touch and different gestures, it needs to have a certain number of parameters that you can change, which sort of suggests certain types of sounds that I find a bit cheesy.
Okay.
I just don't really like. And I don't know, as an interface, it just didn't really work well for me. Yes, if you pressed harder, it did something different. If you leant one way or the other way, it would bend the note, sometimes way too much, and sounded awful. Yeah, it ultimately, in my workflow, it just felt a bit like a novelty, and all I got was some okay loops out of it to include. It's not really what I was after.
That's fair. Yeah, I think that's understandable, And on the flip side of that, that's one of those things that you don't know until you've got it in your hands, right? And until you've powered it up.
I think I'm more aware of things like that now.
Okay.
I
Okay.
think I wouldn't add anything to my studio now if I didn't really want to expand it in a particular way. Like the last thing I got was a Waldorf Blofeld desktop, just a little tiny thing,
Mhm.
because they're inexpensive and it's a type of synthesis that I don't have not represented a lot in my gear, and I actually wanted to explore that.
That's fair.
If I don't like it, I will sell it. That was the idea. Although it's not exactly going to make me a lot of money, they're not expensive. But yeah, there's always been a reason for it from the beginning. I started to drift away from that, and now I'm drifting quite firmly back again to like leaving things as they are and not changing them unless I've got a pretty good reason. Other than there's a slightly better version of it now, because that always seems to happen, and it just annoys me.
So, what mindset has changed in that regard for you? Was it you've been bitten too many times, or is it a real estate thing? You just don't have much space, or is it?
Yeah, it's mainly it's a real estate thing, and it's beyond a certain point, there are things that just get put away and not used. If you don't have them out, and there's a limit to the amount of things you want to have out, it's all a bit. What should I do? I don't know. It's all sat here in front of me. It's sort of like the unlimited possibilities of a door represented physically. I think you need to be a little more focused than that. Really.
Makes sense. So there's a mental discipline aspect to that as well.
Yeah, I think you need to decide what your palette is, what your tools are going to be, and kind of be relatively consistent in that. And maybe you might think, okay, after a while I'll sell that, I'll get something else to replace it, and I will change things from time to time as the mood takes me and when I want to do different things. But I think for my purposes, it's better to try and stick to a certain setup, certain set of tools, and just work at getting more out of them.
That makes sense. Yeah. I mean, I think that
I
makes
was
a lot of
thinking when
sense.
we were talking earlier about this promise of a new method making your writing and recording life wonderful. There's a cynical part of me that sees that going on and thinks, we've thought about maybe learning music. Do you know what I mean? Gear's not going to save you.
No.
Remember, you're wanting to explore music. The promise that this box is going to make it easier. Well, maybe it will, maybe it won't, but ultimately you don't need it to do that. And that's me talking about what my goals are. Someone else might feel differently, but so yeah, I've been able to talk myself out of a lot recently because of that.
Oh, there's an emotional fortitude there for sure. There's a bit of chat.
Mm.
Bendu, I don't mind selling things I don't find useful. Feels good.
Mhm.
I wish it weren't such a pain in the ass. I got the push 3 after I sold the push 2 and it was on sale. Not an impulse buy at all. There you go. There's a meditation. There's an
I wouldn't.
upgrade.
I would not have expected him of being impulsive.
No, I get that absolutely. But I think that that sounds like a healthy relationship to have with your studio. If it feels good to offload things you're not using anymore, I suppose there's an evolution, there's a growth there, and
Yeah,
also going from a push 2 to a push 3 seems like a natural evolution, and also, it's not, what's the phrase? It's not a £50 $50 synth. It's a big investment.
yeah. I just want to avoid those situations that I see quite regularly. And I last saw only today that Ali O'May from Donovan posted something. It's like, it's a picture from years ago. Here's my Moog Prodigy, my Korg Monopoly, and I can't remember what the third synth was. It's like, I wish to God I hadn't sold them. It's like, I don't ever want to make mistakes like that, where I sell something and like really regret it.
I get that. I
I'm
get that.
happy to let something go that I don't really have a use for.
That's fair.
And
I
I
get
think
that.
that's healthy and to be applauded.
Do. Mike says there have been other bits of kit like Move, where objectively I already had more functionality than that in the Push 3, for example, but it has come into its own, which is
Mm.
a very interesting point. Like, I mean, without tooting Ableton's horn too much, seeing as we're both Ableton users and we have Bendu and we have Mike in the chat. The that's a fair assessment. Like, the Move is a wonderful little limitation. I personally find it as a great little teaching tool where you can understand the absolute basics of music, not necessarily a particular workflow or anything like that. But it can teach you the fundamentals of construction and synthesis, but also structure as well. Which I don't know if that I don't know
It's
if that
a
sits in
very
house.
odd thing when they released that because it's so limited. And
Yes.
those limitations, again, we've spoken about it before about limitations being, key to creativity, or the fact that they stimulate creativity in many cases. It's limitations that can inspire you, and it's a really good example of that. And I say that not to sort of to brown nose Ableton particularly, but so that other manufacturers can cotton on to the idea that just getting something right in a certain form factor and a certain usability with limitations that are planned, and there is a way forward, that it can be transcended. It's not the fact there's anything amazing about it, it's just what you need and no more,
Hmm.
in a way that is really portable, and you don't think, oh, it's all right, but I really want my sampler as well, or I really want this as well. It's like there's a lot you can get done on it, and you can really get fully formed ideas. And I want people to make stuff like that rather than pushing the technology necessarily, pushing the concept of what these devices are and what an instrument is, and making something that really hits a sweet spot that is strangely useful.
I get that. Yes, I will leave the adoration of the Move there just for balance sake, and so we're not going for too long. But
I'd
you're right.
love people to make stuff like that too.
It's true.
Take up
It,
the challenge.
it's it, no, it's a good point you make. Like, especially in this world of bells and whistles and everything does everything, just to have a really decent piece of gear that does what it says it does without apologies is a really good place to be.
Hmm.
In that same vein, and you're not allowed to say the Move because I know how enamored you are with the Move. Has there been a particular piece of gear that, be it impulse or be it a meditated decision, that has truly unlocked something for you and has completely altered the way in which you do things?
Yeah, to some extent, yeah. Yeah, a couple of things. I think the first one that springs to mind is it's a Eurorack sequencer that make called Rene, and it's what they call a Cartesian sequencer, and all that means is it XY, the theory of XY, and you have a grid. So you've got 4x4 knobs, and that makes your grid, and each one has a value that can correspond with a pitch, and you set how many of them are active, and it cycles through them on one page.
Oh, that pause, man. That pause.
This concept of a snake where it will go through it in a different order, and there are loads of different snake modes. So what you can do is you can put your notes into it, and it can play through them, and you can lengthen and shorten your sequence really easily, and you can change the snake pattern so that it starts playing the notes in different orders and going through it in different ways. So that's fun. Then there's another page of the same that has a different clock input and can have a different scale, notes, everything. So you've got two of those. And then there's a third one that is derived from the first two that moves around depending on what the other two are doing. One does X, the other one does Y. And so you get all sorts of weird and wonderful things coming out of that. If you've got potentially three sequencer outputs that you can plug into different voices and have them do related, not related things of same length, varying lengths. And because it's just touchpads, it's so easy to just lengthen and shorten things and change the order and stuff. It's all there, and just mad things happen.
That's cool.
It just, yeah, so much of my first and second albums like inspired by riffs that came out of that sequencer.
That's cool.
Playing
That's
various
really cool.
things.
I think you're in good company. There's a lot of emojis coming from Bendo here. Rene. I get that. Apparently, it is in Max for Live as well. So I need to have a look
That's
at that.
brilliant. Yeah.
And I do love how Mike says we have Rene in Max for Live. I like to think that that's a collective we.
Yeah, we all do.
Because everyone has the ability to go and use Ableton.
Not know that. That's a good thing to learn on a Wednesday evening.
I'm excited for that one. Mike's vote as well is the Torso S4. Yes, I'm curious.
You're still not helping, Mike.
No, I've switched onto it as well between Mike and Castle on Petite Victory Collective. Just the use of the S4 there. I'm kind of like, I can't.
It's I should be blaming in general, because we've got Alio May telling me never sell a synth because you'll regret it, and then we've got the other half, Mike, saying, "Oh, Torso S4 is awesome. You should really get one.
Go get it done."
You guys.
It's fair, man. But I do think it's important to balance that out, and I do think I kind of live with the notions of, if I'm still thinking about it 2 paychecks down the line, then okay, maybe it's not a one. Maybe there is something to explore there, and I'll give it another 2 or 3 paychecks. And if I'm still thinking about it, then okay, that's fine. I think that's fair. I think, as I do think on the back side of that, again, coming back to this intentionality kind of situation, like this is our craft, and this is our art, and this is our hobby, and this is our, kind of chosen pastime. You're allowed to spend your hard-earned money on things on the side of that, right? Yeah, you might not want to go and buy everything that pops up on your Instagram feed, but there's nothing wrong with thinking about something and experimenting and playing, because part of that process, as I was saying last week, that exploration, that play, that fun is what it's all about. The music and the finished tracks and the albums and the releases at that point are kind of that's kind of like the back end of everything. It doesn't really make much sense. It's you processing and you developing as an instrument and as a musician in that regard.
And this discussion is reminding me that more than just the lure of some great new process that's going to make my life better, I suppose things that make it more fun, I am definitely drawn to, and tend to sort of, if they do actually accomplish that, prove their value.
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot of fun messing around with subharmonic and labyrinth, especially clocked together and doing different things. I can hypnotize myself sometimes with those boxes. It's great. I really like it. Stuff like that is just fun to use. It helps you, because it's very easy to sit here, another talking head on the internet and say, "Oh, you've got to make it fun, keep it playful." Yeah, but I mean, sometimes it's easier said than done.
Yeah.
And sometimes having a fun bit of kit can shortcut that for you. It is true.
Absolutely. And just to back that up, just on the back of what Mike said, this is apparently the MDD Snake Max for Live device, which is apparently that Rene idea that
Yeah,
you've been
you've got your
discussing.
4x4 grid. You can set your pitches. It what's the word? Puts them in tune for you.
Mm-hmm.
Speed. Okay, that's your clock input. So obviously with a modular one, because you've got a clock input and a pulse on it, you could either use something regular, or as the guys were saying in the chat, something irregular. So that it goes round and then stops and does 3. And do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can clock it irregularly, as well as change the sequence shapes and all sorts of stuff. Direction, forwards, backwards, upwards, downwards, whatever.
It's fun.
It's good.
And it's free, I believe. If I come down here, you can just download the device, which is fun. I'm just gonna, for the sake of the community, I'm just gonna pop that in the chat so that everyone can have that. Whether you need it or not.
Fun.
But that is something that I also kind of sit on quite a lot. Like if I'm looking at buying something, or if I'm looking at purchasing something, I'll often have a look to see if there's anything on my radar which is free first. And it doesn't have to necessarily be connected to it. But I'm a stickler for dopamine. And so I'm like, do I want a new piece of gear, or do I want a new plugin, or do I just want a hit of dopamine and creativity? And invariably, it's the second, it's the latter. So going and getting something like this, for example, whacking that into Ableton and playing around that with an afternoon, I've already forgotten about whatever it is I was going to buy on Black Friday.
Yes. Especially when you read that there's a Turing machine available as well. So the Turing machine is Music Thing Modular's source of randomness that you can get for Eurorack. It's a relatively cheap module, and it just creates random pitches, random pulses. So you're using to plug into other stuff, and you can set how random, and you can lock in patterns for pitches. But there's also a pulse output that you can just use for clocking things. It's great. It's brilliant.
Well, I've just
all the time.
Well, there you go. There's that sitting there right there.
There it is.
There it is, and it's there, and can't find the download button, but it is there.
Great with Renee.
Well, there you go. I will also put that in the chat, but that will be the last piece, so that it's not entirely an Ableton game. But we are doing a public service here, because you can use these things, and there's plenty of communities of people doing free stuff. You don't need the huge glitzy glammy plugins and stuff.
I'd be amazed if there weren't parallels on other platforms as well, in other doors.
It must be. I'm sure there must be some form of Turing machine or some sort of.
And if not, you probably have access to some of this stuff by using VCV Rack in other doors.
Yes. Yeah. Which is very valid in its own right. That's one as well. That's one that could be considered an investment, because you can, that's like buying an instrument that you build yourself. There's so much there.
What about you? What have you had a buy like that was transformative
It's a good
some
question.
way?
It's a good question. I think for me, I think it'd have to be the Nova, the Novation Ultra Nova, which is it's just there.
Still a favorite after all these years.
Yeah, I've got it. I got it in Malaysia about it must have been about 7 years ago now, and I brought when I brought it back when I moved back from Southeast Asia, it came in the suitcase with me. It was my carry-on luggage, and
Wow. Pride of
it
place.
yeah, and it has been a significant stable just because it just does everything. It got me into synthesis, and it maintains its place when it comes when I'm in similar your phrase, what's it all about? When I get to those kind of situations and I'm just like, give me an init patch and see what happens, I always end up going back to the Ultranova. It's MIDI. There's MIDI in and MIDI out, MIDI through, which is great for if you just want to hook it up to the computer. It's versatile. There's 5 LFOs on it. It's just, you can do so much. Once you understand the display and once you understand its workflow, it's beautiful. It's not the most attractive kind of workflow in the world, but it is fun. I love it.
That brings to mind a point that I've heard made in our community before and is so true. And that's just not a lesser instrument that inside out is going to serve you far better than, a technically superior instrument that you don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Always.
If it's yours and it's an extension of your arm, that's going to serve you.
And you've already done the hard yards, and it's exactly. It's part of you.
That could be another thing in that, right? As well, it's like you want to create a new sound, and you want to say, for example, have a new piece of inspiration. Are you sure that you can't get that on your most well-known piece of gear, for example? Is there another way? Like the S1, the Roland S1 is a great example of that. On the surface, it's very limited, and there's not much to it. But you put a MIDI controller into that, or you just you send MIDI to it without really putting anything in, and suddenly you've got a completely different instrument in your hands.
Yep, it's true.
It's fair. It's fair. It is worth, just to sum up, it is worth thinking about these things and having a full-on synth crush on something, as Mike would say, before you make a purchase. It's always good to take a step back.
Yeah.
Play
hard to get for a bit.
Play hard to get for a bit. The corporations are always going to have your money. Moga not going anywhere. They'll still be doing a subharmonicon in a couple of months' time. Just give it a sec. This is kind of like the same way. Like I really like my namesake says. I have for so long, for about 2 years, I've lusted after the Hydrasynth, and that's gone from the Hydrasynth to the Hydrasynth Explorer, and now I'm thinking about the Hydrasynth Desktop. And I really want it. I really want it. I can't buy it yet. But there's other things. There's more important things to buy right now that are actually going to benefit me. But it's not going anywhere,
Yeah. I really like it. I love how flexible it is. I think, it would be a great workhorse. But at the same time, it doesn't necessarily give me anything I don't have, rather than some very specific tones.
Yeah. I think if it's about workflow and that, it's like
I can't justify it.
Well, I think for me it would be an evolution of the Novation, because that's again where I do my synthesis, and that's where I do all that, and it's a more hands-on, wider component to that.
Yeah, I mean,
you can do it in Ableton.
Got rid of the Cobalt 8 and the Minilog. I could replace it with one of them. But I haven't really. I've got to get under the skin of that Cobalt, because it's a good synth, and I really haven't explored it that much yet.
There's always stuff to explore. It's good to explore your own backyard before going across to Timbuktu.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I get that. I'd like to know, well, we'd like to know what everyone else is thinking, because we are just some dudes on the internet, as Ian Lake said before. If you're watching this back or you're listening, we'd love to know where you're at. Please, if you want to, head across to the Discord. I'll put that there, and no one gets anything in the face today, which is great. It will, shiny up in a sec. But come and say hi in the Discord. We like to share these ideas, and get feedback on where people are at and what we're doing, that kind of thing. That would be a really good fun place to be. Also, I will say it again, there's a little new scheme going on for the patrons right now in the patron channel. Go and have a look. That would be really awesome. It would be a really fun thing to do if they could come through. And if you have enjoyed what you've been listening to, and you want to become a patron, there is the QR code in the top right-hand corner. But if I push it again, does it go somewhere else? No. But I can do that. There we go. Now you have two. Come on down. Patrons is great fun. We have got Star Streams back up and running at the end of the month, which is our monthly hangout behind closed doors, not recorded. It's just a fun hangout space. Early access to releases on the label. You get a chance to come in and be a part of the show. We know we're just doing, while some Warpers on paternity, many of our patrons have been helping out, and that's a privilege and a fun thing to have because they're a patron, and also just because they're awesome human beings. If you want to become an awesome human being, go and be a part of the patron. Let's go with that one for today. So yeah, absolutely. Any intentions and any aspirations for the coming week before we drop off?
A couple of plugins to install, some Max for Live stuff to install.
Yeah, it looks like it, right?
I just know to have that just drag and drop in Ableton, it's going to get used.
You can't beat it, can you?
It's not going to be quite as good as the hardware in the sense that there are the 3 layers of it, and the first 2 govern what the third one does and stuff like that. But just the Cartesian, the snake patterns and everything through all your values, and hopefully being able to turn steps on and off, and then gates for each step on and off. So sometimes it will re-trigger, sometimes it's legato, depending on whether you've enabled the gate on that particular step. Mm-hmm. Just been able to do that in software and recall it at will anytime. Yeah, it's going to happen. So yeah,
there you go.
To play with this week.
There's a lot to play with. Thank you, Mike, for bringing that to the table. I am also quite fascinated. I still, for all its geniuses, I still haven't really explored Max for Live itself. And yeah, I think this time I have a few bits and bobs, but I need to definitely do more. So it's a good way to go. It sounds like a good, realistic set of intentions for the week, Eon.
Something I can follow up on for sure.
Let's find out. It's all good. Wonderful. Well, thank you everyone for being here. It's been lovely to hang out with you for the last hour or so. You could be anywhere in the world right now, and you chose to be with us. So really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Back next week. I've been playing around with the public beta for the Zebra 3, given to us by, highlighted to me by Smiling Errors. I've been playing around with that for the last couple of weeks. I think I might bring that to the table next week and see where we're at. Muck around with that. That is a beautiful little plugin, which is free, and you don't necessarily have to buy anything. You can, but there's plenty in this small little box. So yeah, I'll bring that to the table next week. And I'm saying that to give myself a little kick up the arse and actually get it done. So that'll do. It's now out.
Zebralette, right? Yeah, I used it before. Sounds great.
Yeah, you hear awesome. So yeah, I'm with you there. So we will be back next week, normal time. And until then, hope you have a lovely week. See you in the Discord. And yeah, be happy. Any final words, Eon Legs?
Have fun. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah.